Hello everyone, and welcome back to Brief Tune. Today, we're going to cover the show Phineas and Ferb from beginning to end in detail. Heinz Doofenshmirtz, one of the main characters in Phineas and Ferb, has a backstory that adds a touch of tragedy to his otherwise comedic character. Throughout the series, the show explores Doofenshmirtz's past through various flashbacks dedicated to his backstory. And despite being portrayed as a joke character, the show occasionally delves into the emotional weight of Doofenshmirtz's struggles and his longing for familial love and acceptance. Doofenshmirtz was born in the European country of Drusselstein. His endless misfortune began on the day of his birth when his parents didn't care enough to even show up. I wonder how that could even happen. He was a peculiar boy who had a fictional condition named, well, actually, I can't really pronounce it, so I'm just gonna put it on the screen, which basically made him smell bad. And because of this unpleasant odor, many people, including his own parents, wanted to keep their distance from him. He was constantly bullied throughout his childhood, whether it be getting sand kicked on his face by big black boots, or getting water poured on his head by a girl named Grulinda, who apparently had a crush on him. Although, the most scarring and major incidents of his life definitely occurred on the day when his father asked him to jump off from a high dive. Now, traditionally, this event allows one to learn if one is a real man or just a phony. Heinz was unable to perform the ritual due to all the mocking eyes and was labeled as a schnitzel, which made him lose respect in the eyes of his parents. Ever since that incident, his parents despised him even more and became more and more distant, and his father refused to even acknowledge him as his son. This is probably what led to his parents abandoning him in the woods, where he was raised by ocelots, something that will become important later on. During this tough phase, he somehow managed to keep himself afloat by arranging his own birthday parties where he would pretend to be surprised every time, despite having arranged the party himself. Oh, and no one ever showed up to his parties. Even the performers were stuffed toys. However, he kept his spirits up with his interest in science and participated in a science fair where he made his very first innator. Clearly, his efforts weren't appreciated enough as he lost to a baking soda volcano twice in a row, and he was finally done with competing in the science fairs. He now had to find a source of income, so he landed a job in the dunking booth. But not as the guy getting dunked, rather he was the ball which is thrown at the target. Now, despite his miserable job, he found himself a balloon on which he painted a face and sprayed a lifelong lasting spray that he invented himself. This is how Heinz got his very first best friend, whom he named Balloony. Later, he was accepted back into the family by his parents, but not for the right reasons. The family was going through some tough times to the point that they had to give up their beloved lawn gnome. So, his father decided that Heinz will have to take the role of it and stand in front of the lawn for hours and hours without moving. The poor guy wasn't even allowed to eat. During one of the nights on his duty as a gnome, a wind blew away his only friend Balloony, and he could not get a hold of it as he was frozen into place by his father. And that, my friends, was the last that he saw of Balloony. Or was it? His horrors didn't end here though, as his father once brought in a pup which he won in a game of Goozim. He claimed it to be the son he always wanted but never had, and hence gave him the name Only Son. The dog later became a show dog, which brought him a ton of money, but despite getting a new gnome for the lawn, he let Doofenshmirtz continue to do the job. How cruel! Additionally, his parents gave birth to his sibling Roger, whom they treated with the love and care that Heinz always craved. See, before Roger was born, his mother was expecting a daughter, which led her to knit a huge pile of dresses for a girl. But when she gave birth to a baby boy, Heinz was forced to wear all the girly dresses to school since the family was out of material. This added even more misery to his life as he was constantly made fun of for not being manly. While Heinz was getting nothing from his parents, his brother Roger had all the love and attention that he needed. He showed an amazing talent for kickball, while his brother Heinz showed no capability abilities in that field. To win his mother's heart, he spent his yearly allowance to win a gift for her, which she turned around and gave to Roger. And then Roger even wrote his name on both the gift and their mother, claiming them to be his and his alone. Heinz tried different jobs such as making pretzels, becoming a magician, and even making hand shadows, but once again, he was overshadowed by other people and even lost his girlfriend to a guy named Huge Hand Hans. To top it all off, his parents sent him to get something from a store, but after entering, he realized that it was a bait set up by his parents to send him off to America so they can finally be rid of him. But that was going to be the start of his new life journey, which takes us to his adult life. After arriving in America, Heinz finished high school and sold bratwursts on the street to make a living. However, in high school, he filmed himself skating in his underwear and a cape, and that video went viral sometime later, making it difficult for him to even show his face outside. After his struggles, Heinz tried to find his true self with the help of art, but of course gave up on that dream when his brother Roger, who happened to have arrived in America too accidentally, drops food on his masterpiece. He even tried a poetry contest where he once again lost to Baking Soda Volcano. Again? After getting his girlfriend stolen by the guy with huge hands, he finally mustered enough courage to enter the dating scene again, this time with a young Linda Flynn who would later become a pop star.
She did become a pop star later.
During his date, he expresses his desire to take over the world. I mean, honestly, can you blame the guy? Linda advises him to pursue his dreams and start off with the tri-state area, which prompted him to join an evil school soon after finishing high school. Okay, how do they even allow a school that teaches you crime? Whatever. Anyways, that didn't work out because one of his teachers, Dr. Heinz, flunked him, forcing him to join a community college instead. During his time there, he met a rich and wealthy woman named Charlene, whom he fell in love with and even married. Well, who saw that coming? The two had a girl named Vanessa, whom Heinz dearly loved, but failed to win her heart for 16 whole years. This was mostly due to the horrible birthday parties he threw at her for several years until finally getting one right. He even spent 9 years finding her a discontinued Mary McGuffin doll that she wanted as a kid. As Vanessa was more mature now, she saw her father still trying to win her over after all these years and eventually developed a soft spot for him. It's also revealed that Heinz and Charlene had broken up when Vanessa was 4, mainly because they had different plans in life. And also because of a sock puppet. Totally a valid reason to break up, right? Anyways, despite that, they still stayed on good terms, shared custody of their daughter, and they even arranged family reunions to give Vanessa the love that she needed. Aw, my boy isn't doing so bad after all. It's theorized that Heinz had put behind his evil schemes during his marriage years, mainly because he wanted to spend time with them, which is probably why Charlene has no idea about her ex-husband's villainous plans. After getting divorced, Heinz had to find himself a place to live before the alimony started coming in, so he settled for the penthouse, which is now famously known as the Doofenshmirtz Evil Incorporated. He got this place relatively cheaply due to the constant noise of ships that sailed by the area. But, aside from that, this place was huge! Once he did get the alimony, he purchased a fake doctorate degree from the internet, and now he is Dr. Heinz Doofenshmirtz. He turned the penthouse into his evil incorporation and started making doomsday machines. This led to Organization Without a Cool Acronym, OWCA, assigning a spy to his place whose whole job was to stop his evil inventions. Now, this spy was none other than Perry the Platypus, but hey, the fact that he was considered as a threat by the OWCA means that he finally made it as a villain, right? Later it's revealed that Perry used to be an ordinary platypus named Agent P, who was recruited by the OWCA. He was chosen for his exceptional skills and was trained to be a skilled agent, but that's not all. He was also adopted as a pet by Phineas and Ferb 5 years before the events of the show and has his fair share of screen time with the boys and with Dr. Heinz. Despite their frequent clashes and adversarial relationship, Perry the Platypus, or Agent P, and Dr. Heinz occasionally display moments of understanding and even cooperation throughout the series. After all that he had gone through, which led him to becoming an evil villain, Heinz now spends his days plotting revenge against everyone who has done him wrong, including his brother Roger, who by the way has become the mayor of Danville. Now, despite his best efforts, he always fails to cause any harm or take any revenge on anyone, but that's mostly due to Perry the Platypus. Alright, let's get away from Dr. Heinz's tragic story and the unloving family and focus on a rather stable and loving family in the show. So, remember Linda? Well, she's the mother of Phineas and is married to a guy named Lawrence, who also has a son named Ferb. Both Linda and Lawrence had children from their unsuccessful prior marriages and decided to marry each other, making Phineas and Ferb stepbrothers. It's established that Linda married Lawrence after dating him for a while in the 1990s. They fell in love at a concert of the fictitious band Love Handel after they were put on the kiss cam. It was truly one of the most wholesome and adorable moments in the whole show. Although the show itself doesn't reflect on who Linda and Lawrence's ex-spouses were, there are a lot of theories surrounding it. Now, the most common theory is that Phineas is the son of Dr. Heinz, since Linda dated Heinz in the past. And, this theory does make sense. I mean, Phineas had the same hair as Heinz, and both of them are extremely intelligent. But the more I look into it, the more unreasonable it becomes. Now, let me explain. Linda has another child named Candace, who is Phineas's sister by blood. Now, we all know that Linda only dated him for a brief period, and it was at the time when Heinz had just finished high school. At present, Heinz is 47 years old, and given how Candace is 15 and Phineas is around, 9 or 10? Well, those numbers don't really add up. Besides, they would have had to have dated for several years to have had Candace, let alone Ferb. So, unless Linda and Heinz were secretly hitting it off for so long, there's pretty much zero chance that Heinz and Phineas are related. But as for Ferb, he has pretty much the same facial shape as his father Lawrence, but has green hair unlike him, which is probably a trait that his mother had. The show really did not ever give us a hint of these mysterious unknown figures, which honestly is kind of weird to me because Vanessa is still in contact with both her mother and father despite their divorce. So this sparked a crazy theory in my mind. What if Linda and Lawrence's ex-spouses are dead? I mean, think about it. In the whole 104 days of summer vacation, we never hear anything about these characters. So, what do you think? Go on and let us know in the comments. Anyways, despite all the theories, Lawrence and Linda are in a healthy marriage and are shown caring and loving towards each other with a touch of comedy. I mean, it is truly heartwarming how these two care for the kids and each other. As for the siblings, the whole narrative revolves around their interaction and the usual sibling rivalry. Phineas is depicted as a highly upbeat and optimistic individual with an endless imagination and a knack to turn any situation into a thrilling experience. In fact, he tends to be the one who takes the initiative in developing new ideas and inventions over their 104-day summer vacation. Ferb, on the other hand, is a reclusive and stoic figure whose engineering abilities bring Phineas's ideas to reality. The two work flawlessly as the muscle and brains of their crazy inventions throughout their entire vacation. Despite his generally serene demeanor, Ferb is always ready to assist Phineas and give his technological expertise to his ideas. He's also recognized for his dry sense of humor and sharp one-liners, which can be seen throughout the show. As for Candace, she's depicted as your typical teenager who frequently tries to expose her brother's extraordinary activities to their parents. Candace is often frustrated by her failure to prove their mischief, as their creations tend to disappear or go under the radar just before her parents see them. Yet, Candace does truly care for her brothers and has moments of sisterly affection and protection. The sibling dynamic between Phineas, Ferb, and Candace is the central aspect of the show. While Candace tries to maintain order and get her brothers into trouble, Phineas and Ferb continue to embark on their imaginative projects, often unknowingly evading Candace's attempts to expose them. This show explores their interactions, balancing sibling rivalry with moments of camaraderie and affection. Okay, so earlier I mentioned how Candace is in a constant struggle to expose her brothers, but somehow they always get away with their wacky inventions. These moments are sometimes so absurd that one wonders if Linda is maybe already aware of her son's inventions and is purposefully putting a blind eye to them. This has sparked an entire debate in the fandom, so I'm going to lay out my thoughts as well. So, during the 104 days of summer, Phineas and Ferb work on hundreds of inventions, and there are some instances where the whole town or even the city is involved. In fact, the boys were interviewed and even ended up on the news. Everyone knows about their inventions, yet only Linda seems unaware of it. Additionally, throughout the show, Phineas and Ferb were also found by Lawrence and Linda's parents, who also partook in some of their inventions. For instance, Lawrence took a ride on their flying carpet, their grandpa rode a replica plane that they made, and even the granny used roller skating shoes to get a rematch. The nail in the coffin is the episode Agent Doof, where a beam of Heinz's innator hits Phineas and Ferb, turning them into babies. Candace takes a picture of the two and sends it to their mother, who simply thanks her for the old picture. Now, Linda already knew this picture was impossible, as the boys were already walking toddlers when they first met, yet she pretended as if everything was normal. On top of that, when Candace carries the two inside the house, Linda says that these two cannot be her sons and are simply two kids who look like them. But wait a minute. Didn't you just thank her when she sent you their pictures? I think that we have enough evidence to believe that Linda is aware of Phineas and Ferb's inventions and is just putting up the innocent front. But why though? Well, there could be several reasons for it. The main theory is very simple. All this is purposely done for the comedic aspect of the show to maintain the balance between the fantastical and mundane aspects of the show. See, it adds an element of humor and suspense as the audience wonders if Phineas and Ferb's creations will be discovered or not. However, fans smell conspiracy as they always do, hence there are some other theories that I'll quickly go through. Some fans theorize that Linda is fully aware of Phineas and Ferb's inventions but purposely pretends not to notice in order to encourage their creativity and independence. This theory suggests that she wants them to have the freedom to explore their ideas without parental interference. Linda has suppressed memories. This theory suggests that Linda may have been exposed to Phineas and Ferb's inventions in the past, but has somehow forgotten or repressed those memories. This could be due to the extraordinary nature of the projects, leading her mind to block them out as a defense mechanism. Linda is under the influence of Doofenshmirtz's forget about it innator. Okay, so this theory suggests that Linda may have unknowingly been affected by one of Dr. Doofenshmirtz's inventions, causing her to forget about Phineas and Ferb's inventions shortly after witnessing them. Go on and let me know what theory makes the most sense to you. Also, comment some of your own theories if you have any. Anyways, Candace's mission to expose her brothers finally works when she's in her 30s. She uses a time machine to go back to the first holiday and gets Linda to scold them. But when she returns to her own timeline, she realizes that making that small change caused the world to be ruled by the evil Heinz Doofenshmirtz. So she returns back to the time when she busted her own brothers and stops herself from doing so to save the world. How kooky. It's a very complicated series of events, but it all concludes with the 15-year-old Candace going to the future with Phineas and Ferb, where Linda finally learns the truth. But at that time, the two are in their 30s, so Linda doesn't really care about it that much. But at the very least, Candace finally manages to get closure on something that she's been at for nearly 2 decades. During this same episode, we get to see Dr. Heinz's old age in both the altered and correct timeline. He can be seen playing checkers with Perry the Platypus inside his evil incorporation. Later on, Vanessa reveals how she got an internship at OWCA but is unable to join since she's the daughter of the man who is among the sworn enemies of the organization. She then convinces Dr. Heinz to let go of his evil ways, as she truly believes he is pure from the heart, which leads to him letting go of his evil ways and turning into a good guy. During a court trial, Heinz is sentenced to teach at Denville High, where he becomes his daughter's science teacher. One of the scenes shows Heinz scrubbing over the word evil in the title of the book, which further shows how he has left his evil scientist days behind. Now, sometime later, he actually gets instated as an OWCA agent, which is legally not allowed since humans cannot work there. But since he was raised by ocelots in his childhood, he's technically considered an ocelot. See, I told you this ocelot thing would become important later on. Don't you love it when the show pays such high attention to detail? Nonetheless, after all the tragedies that he went through, he finally came clean with himself and managed to find love, build a family, and find a friend in the end. This is the peaceful ending that he really, honestly, truly deserved. In almost every episode, Phineas and Ferb create and construct large-scale projects or inventions, often in their backyard. These projects range from building roller coasters, time machines, and giant robots, to creating beach resorts, traveling through dimensions, and even building an entire city. Each project is an opportunity for fun, adventure, and creativity. The show also explores various romantic relationships. Phineas has a crush on Isabella, one of his close friends, who often helps with their projects.
Hey, Phineas.
Hey, Isabella.
What you doing?
Candace's relationship with Jeremy, her on-again, off-again boyfriend, is a recurring storyline. Dr. Doofenshmirtz's ex-wife Charlene and their daughter Vanessa also make appearances and have their own dynamics with the main characters. However, my absolute favorite would have to be the conclusion to Phineas and Isabella's story. Isabella spends the whole summer approaching Phineas romantically, but it fails every time until she finally gives up on the idea of getting together with him. However, just around that time, Phineas develops feelings for her, but never confesses, thinking that he's in the friend zone. But one day, he actually learns the truth about her and decides to confess his feelings. The two talk it out on her last day in Danville, and both decide to join the same college so that they can spend more time together.
Yeah, I had a big crush on you.
Wow, I had no idea.
Really? I thought I was being so obvious.
Absolutely clueless.
Throughout the entire series, the episodes generally follow a similar format, with Phineas and Ferb's inventive projects, Candace's attempts to expose them, Perry's secret agent missions, and Doofenshmirtz's comical villainy. Each episode typically features a self-contained adventure or project, while a larger continuity is maintained with recurring characters and ongoing storylines. In the final episode of Phineas and Ferb, called The Last Day of Summer, it serves as a one-hour special that concludes the entire series. In this episode, Phineas and Ferb set out to make the most of their last day of summer vacation before school starts. Despite the show being named after Phineas and Ferb, I honestly never really thought of them as the main characters of the show, and this finale really shows how they were just side characters in the giant scheme of things. The main characters for me were always Dr. Heinz and Candace, who had faced 104 days of constant failures despite trying their best, while the brothers somehow always succeeded. Candace was never really able to bust her brothers, and Heinz was never really in line to take over the tri-state area. Yet they kept going on and on. But on the other hand, Heinz is driven by all the pain and suffering that he'd went through and continues to plot revenge on those who did him wrong. And this is why the finale of the series is genius. Despite being so crucial to the narrative, it is in the final episode when Candace and Heinz are coincidentally directly involved in the events. Candace visits Vanessa to return her DVDs when she encounters Dr. Heinz, who's working on a new innator that lets him restart his day as the final hope for his plans. With this new invention, he can slowly rule out all the errors during the day and finally succeed in taking over the tri-state area. Candace, on the other hand, sees this as an opportunity to do the same. Except her goal is to bust her brothers. Surely, if she can try it again and again, eventually she can bust them, right? Okay, so do you see the resemblance in these characters now? According to Albert Einstein, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again while expecting different results. Candace and Heinz are the same. Their desire to achieve something is so great that they consistently do the same thing over and over again and always expect it to work out without actually changing anything. This happens on each morning of the resetting day as well, and even when Heinz becomes the governor, he cannot seem to be satisfied with himself, as his true goal all along was for his daughter to love and appreciate him. The resetting of the same day encapsulates both their insanities perfectly, as every time there is always something that gets in the way of their success, but yet they never manage to learn. Well, except for they do. See, as the day keeps resetting, the days get shorter and shorter, and things, people, and even memories start disappearing. If you still doubt my take on the main characters of the show, then not only does the final episode revolve around Heinz and Candace, but it also literally erases Phineas and Ferb from the timeline along with any memory of them. It's only then that Candace realizes that the whole space-time continuum is disturbed and everyone's life is at stake. And honestly, come on, if you think about it, it was always Candace that inspired new inventions due to her over-the-top throwaway comments. So, if she's capable of inspiring new ideas, she surely is capable of saving the world, right? Well, this is exactly what she does in the very last episode. On her rescue mission, she realizes that the days have become shorter and shorter, and each time, the gang is failing to reach the Inator in time, similar to how she never managed to bust her brothers in time. Just then, she looks at the spoon in her pocket that she picked up somewhere along the way in the other dimension and sees a reflection of herself, finally realizing that she has to do things differently. On the other hand, Heinz has given up on his idea of dictatorship for a change and is about to press the button to turn off his day-repeating Inator. Candace throws the spoons towards the machine and they both press the button at the same time to save the world. Dude, this show could have left a cliffhanger about who was the real savior of the world, but no. Perry quickly learns that the Inator Heinz used was never plugged in, meaning that it was Candace who saved the world. Yet, he decides to keep it to himself because he sees that the doctor is finally happy. The show then ends with Candace sharing her stories in the backyard with her brothers and their friends, while Heinz is having a moment with his family that he created throughout the course of the show. And as the dialogue fades into silence, this has to be the perfect ending that our protagonists deserve. So guys, that's going to be it from us. If you enjoyed the video, then go on and leave us a like and subscribe to our channel for similar content. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.